This story happened a few years ago. I was in my early 20s and was studying in Paris, France. I was going home from uni. I usually took a short bus ride and walked the rest of the way. That day, however, I felt slightly uncomfortable. I could sense some guy looking intensely at me. I was used to unpleasant, unsolicited gazes, but this time, his gaze felt beastly. It's hard to explain why, but I felt like a prey being stalked. I decided to get off the bus a few stops early. I wanted to avoid him and didn't want him to see where I usually got off. Like I learned in the movies, I waited until someone else pressed the stop button and waited until the last moment to stand up and leave. Yet, I didn't notice him getting off the bus. Just as I was feeling the relief of leaving an uncomfortable situation, I looked over my shoulder, and there he was, a few meters behind. I had the distressing feeling his eye had just looked away the moment I turned. I walked into a shop, took my phone, and pretended to be talking on the phone. When I couldn't see him anymore, I exited and made my way home as fast as I could. I kept looking back in the busy street. I zigzagged across the street at every crossing. Finally, I believed that him getting off at the same stop as me was just a coincidence. When I reached my building, I looked back one last time, and there he was, his alarming gaze on me, smirking. I ran up to my apartment, climbing the stairs 4 at a time. I reached the top floor, squeezed through my door, locked it, and froze. My intercom was ringing. Don't ask me why I picked it up. I regretted it at the moment I did. I could hear the opposite flat intercom ringing as well. He had pressed all the buttons one by one, hoping someone would open. But now, he knew my name.
Gabrielle?
Oh no. I felt like a deer in the headlights, frozen.
Open the door, please,
said a pleading voice.
I just want to talk to you, please.
Somehow I couldn't move or speak.
Come to the window,
he added.
Look at me. You'll see. I am not a bad guy.
Something clicked. He wanted to locate my apartment in the building. I was not going to make that mistake. I hung up in shock. I waited by the door without moving for what seemed hours. When I finally managed to calm myself, I called my long-distance boyfriend. Call the police, he said immediately. Why didn't I call the police? I don't know. Today would be the first thing I would do. The fear of making a big deal out of something not important, perhaps. What an idiot I was. I called my best friend instead. I didn't want to feel alone. I told her all about it, and after a while, I felt better. I felt safe. We started laughing. Then suddenly, the intercom rang again. 2 hours had passed since I'd come home. I answered.
Gabrielle,
said the voice.
Open, please.
I still remember the chills I felt. He was still there. He was there all this time. I was silent, petrified. He was silent, but I could sense his trepidation.
Gabrielle, let me in. I am so thirsty,
he said.
Just give me a glass of water.
This broke the tension. I hung up. Curled up in a corner, literally in recovery position, terrified. I waited. I was scared to make a sound. I knew he couldn't hear me from the hall, but I was scared to even breathe. The intercom rang again and again. I didn't answer this time. I crouched to the sofa and fell asleep in exhaustion. I heard the intercom ring one more time in the middle of the night. I woke up in the morning, afraid to leave my apartment. I called my dad, who came to pick me up. There was no one in the hall, but there was a note in my mailbox. Gabrielle, I am a nice guy. You should have opened to me. We immediately went to the nearest police station. The police listened, and of course told me that I should not hesitate to call them. My dad called a locksmith to install digital code on the building door the same day, and wrote a message to each of my neighbors, asking to not open the door to anyone they don't expect. He sat in the cafe in front of my building with 2 friends every evening for more than a week. I never saw the stalker again. After this episode, I use a different route to and from uni every day. I kept my phone tightly in my hand and looked back every few meters. Today I'm still very observing of my surroundings. I never answer the door if I'm not expecting someone. So people, if you ever find yourself in any kind of uncomfortable situation, call the police. Don't be an idiot like me. Be safe, everyone. And to the creep, let's not meet again.
Picking up the box of Tic Tacs while standing in the grocery line. I shook them a little as if they were a maraca. Gently, while the person standing behind me looked away, I slipped a small Tic Tac package into my pocket. A grin shimmered across my face as I walked up to the cashier and paid for the rest of my groceries. I've never done anything like that before, and it seemed pretty insignificant, but I got a huge rush from stealing it. The store I was taken from was already a rundown dump owned by an older, rough-looking man, so I didn't care too much. Walking out of the store after my first steal, I had a great feeling shiver across my body. It made me want to do it all over again. So, every time I went back to that crappy store, I would sneak a pack of Tic Tacs and an occasional pack of gum. However, as I kept doing this, it's lost its thrill because it was just so easy to steal without consequences. So one day, I made sure to slip the Tic Tac package into my pocket, very obviously so the owner of the store, who was working as a cashier register, would notice me trying to steal it. I made eye contact with the cashier, and he just looked at me and shook his head slightly, but said nothing. Not a,
"Are you gonna pay for that? Sir, you can't take that,"
crossed his lips. It was strange, as if he wanted me to take it. After buying the rest of the groceries that day, I was walking to the car and I felt my pocket that was carrying the box of Tic Tacs shake a little, giving me a strange sensation. I reached in and pulled them out to see nothing out of the usual. There was nothing noticeably strange, so I shook it off, as they must have got bumped around while I was walking. Soon, I opened the package and plopped out one of the Tic Tacs in my mouth while I started my parents' old car. I usually enjoy pinching between the roof of my mouth and tongue while simultaneously sucking off the outer coat of the sugar. But the Tic Tac somehow slipped by and went directly down my throat, gagging a little bit on it. I pulled out another one and plopped into my mouth, and the same thing happened again. I wonder how they slipped by my tongue so fast. And so, this time I made sure to close the back of my throat before putting one in my mouth. Try as I did, it never made it past, and so I lifted up with my tip of my tongue while pressing against the roof of my mouth. As I did, I could feel the Tic Tac squirm around as if it was alive and beetle-like. Immediately, I spit it out on the floor of the car between the gas and brake pedals.
"What was that?"
I mumbled to myself. I tried to keep my eyes on the road, but interested in how that thing was squirming around. While glancing down at the floor, a car behind me started honking its horn frantically, which made my eyes dart at the road, noticing that I was drifting past their lane. I quickly jerked back into mine, while they sped past me, spewing off profanities. This took my mind off the Tic Tac that was laying on the floor. I finally got to my house, where I was glad to see that was no harm done to my vehicle. When I walked through the front door, I began to take off my shoes, because my mom made that rule to not wear shoes in the indoors, due to how dirty they get in the carpet. As I was prying one of my shoes off my foot, I gently run my hand on the bottom of it, where I felt an unusual bump. Flipping it over, I saw the Tic Tac that fell on the floor from earlier. It was halfway sticking out of my shoe, and I wonder how I was capable of digging in so much. Carrying my shoe to the bathroom, I found some of my mother's tweezers that she used for her eyebrows, and I pulled the Tic Tac out. It was pretty good, so I decided to give it a good yank. As it came out, some of the rubber of the bottom of my shoe came with it, leaving a big hole. My mind was spinning on how the Tic Tac did so much damage, and I remember feeling this squirm in my mouth earlier. But I stopped this thought, as I felt it was just so stupid to think some Tic Tac could be alive. Something that sounded like glass shattered and echo in the kitchen. I quickly ran over to find my dad cursing at the glass of soda he dropped.
Can you clean this up for me, Jonas?
My dad asked me angrily, but trying to be in a loving tone as he noticed me walk into the kitchen.
Yeah, sure. I'll clean it up.
I responded, somewhat annoyed, while I grabbed an old towel to wipe down the soda now spilled across the floor. But while I was on my hands and knees, I felt something sharp pierce my side. It was instantly painful, and was followed by another similar pains, all resounding to the same area. It was instantly painful, and was followed by similar pains all resounding from the same area.
Whoa, are you okay?
My dad asked me as he started walking closer to me.
But did the glass cut you at all?
I didn't know how to respond, and so I just
need to use the restroom.
As I rushed past my father into the bathroom, scrambling to take my clothes off to see what was going on with the side of my leg. I noticed that blood was running down on my open wound, so I slightly dipped some toilet paper in water to wipe away the blood, and that's when I felt them. About a dozen bumps on the side of my leg were squirming around, which caused my hand to shake. From the hallway, I heard my dad say,
"Sorry, Jonas, but my boss just called and something came up, so I'll see you later tonight. Also, don't forget to sweep up all the broken glass in the kitchen."
The door then swiftly shut before I was able to ask for help. My mind was spinning like a roller coaster as I tried to analyze exactly what was inside me. Initially, I thought it was just glass, but after moving it under my skin, I had no idea, and my stomach was convulsing due to the sensation causing me to throw up on the bathroom floor. I looked through my pant pockets as I tried to avoid these parts of them that were covered in barf as they were on the floor. My fingers stumbled upon some broken pieces of plastic, which I quickly pulled out. In the palm of my hand was the box of Tic Tacs broken into pieces, with one little Tic Tac left. Without thinking, I instinctively took it and put it into my mouth, as I thought of what could possibly be in my leg. I was moving the Tic Tac around the edges of my mouth until it went under my tongue. I tried to move it out from under there, but all I felt was the round end as the rest of it was buried inside me. That's when reality hit me as I desperately opened my mouth and tried to use my fingers to pry the little bugger out. The more I tried, the deeper it went, until I couldn't feel it anymore.
Get out of me!
I screamed as I scratched at the bump that was on my leg and tried to cough the best I could to see if it would help, but sadly it did not. The things were burrowing deeper into my skin, so I quickly grabbed my mother's tweezers and began to best pull them out, but they were attached themselves to my muscles. The same way the one Tic Tac that attached itself to the rubber of the bottom of my shoe. Desperately, I took the knife and dug in, trying to pry them out, but I was able to get 2 swallowed Tic Tacs out, but the other ones were too deep by now. I remember how the cashier at the store reacted as if he wanted me to steal them. Maybe he would know what was going on. And so, I hopped into the car and drove over to the old convenience store as fast as I could, scratching at the bumps that was slowly moving down across my skin. When I ran in, the place was pretty much empty, and I saw the owner who was working on the cash register glance at me, give a slight smile, and go back looking at his computer. Storming up to him, I yelled,
What was going on with those Tic Tacs I bought here? They're literally eating me alive!
The man looked up at me and said,
What Tic Tacs? Every time you come here, you never bought Tic Tacs.
I then thought about it, and he was right. I only ever stolen them, but that grin he had on his face Must have been a sign of being behind this. Look, dude, those things in my skin and head are probably even in my stomach. I'm sorry I stole those from your store, but whatever these things are, they are far worse of anything else I could imagine.
Those things are pretty much to teach you a lesson and not to steal from me. You've pretty much seemed to learn your lesson, and so I'll help you get them off,
the man said as he led me to the back. He grabbed a water bottle from the store stock and opened it up and then poured salt into it.
Here, shake this and pour it onto your wounds and drink it. If it gets in your body by mouth, it'll help dissolve those things,
he said while handing me the water bottle. I swiftly poured it all over myself, making sure it was going deep into my wounds. I then drank it as he instructed, but all of this would only increase the pain tenfold. I dropped to my knees as I heard him chuckle.
Did you really think that salt water was gonna help anything?
He chuckled out. This man was so cruel to what he did to me that I immediately pulled out my phone and called the police. After he saw me do this, he quickly helped me to the bathroom to help clean up the blood and bandage the wounds. I was hoping he could pull something out to kill those things inside me, but he did not. When the police showed up, I realized why he was so eager to help me. It was to remove all evidence that he had happened to me except for the bandages, but it wouldn't make sense on why he bandaged me. The man then stood behind his cash register as the police walked and stated sternly,
Officers, this is the boy that kept shoplifting things from me that I told you about. Please, arrest him.
The officers then looked at me as if they remembered seeing me from somewhere else and pulled out their handcuffs. While they were putting handcuffs on me, I screamed, Officers, I didn't do anything! This man sold me some evil, demented Tic Tacs that were eating me inside out. After hearing this, the officers just laughed as they led me to the police car. Then they left me in the car. As one of them went to the back to speak to the store owner. After 5 minutes, he came back with a package of Tic Tacs in his hand saying,
The owner of the store said that you deserve to have these, and I don't know why.
The officer was about to hand them to me, but noticed that my hands were cuffed behind my back, and so he said,
Here, I'll just slip them into your front pocket for later.
I've been confined to a wheelchair ever since.
Well, thank you for tuning in, folks. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Special thank you to Silver Underworld for joining me this evening, and good goodness, guys, please check out his content. Super underrated, super phenomenal narrator, and just all around a really cool guy. His talents and abilities are phenomenal, and he deserves all the love. So go ahead and check that out in the description below. I'll leave his info also in the comments. But with that being said, I'll see you guys on Tuesday with another upload. And today's video on Friday, as promised, woohoo, on schedule. But yeah, like and subscribe to the video if you enjoyed. And I'll see you guys in the next video. And as always, the dark is simply the answer.